She was gone from the register. Quietly. No announcement, no staff memo, no conversation. One day, Jenny was handling cash at the cafe. The next, she wasn't even allowed near it. And the part that hit harder than that? It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. It was a decision. But when Sumit's family saw the numbers, everything fell apart. Allegedly, the cafe had lost nearly $1 million before anyone fully understood what was happening. That's not a typo. Nearly 1 million. Rupees vanished, meals went out free. Fields of inventory disappeared without explanation. And the people closest to the disaster say it didn't spiral overnight. It leaked quietly, slowly, until the damage was too big to ignore. Was this the moment their entire marriage secretly started breaking down? Jenny and Sumit were never the typical couple. From the first episode, their love story was already stirring up headlines. A 30-year age gap, a whirlwind romance, and a battle with family so messy, it nearly broke them apart before they had even built anything real together. But despite every warning, every cultural clash, every side-eye from Sumit's relatives, they chose each other. Fans watched in disbelief as Jenny packed up her California life, flew back to India, and said she was staying for good. Love over logic, right? So when news hit that Jenny and Sumit were opening a cafe together, for some people, it looked like the proof that love could actually work. Like they had found their middle ground. A dream cafe in the heart of India run by husband and wife. Equal partners, finally free to write their own story. No producers involved, no 90-day timer, no parents hiding divorce papers in drawers. People rooted for them. Maybe this business would shut the mouths of critics who kept screaming it's not real every season. But as always, real life moves differently than reality TV. And behind those filtered posts of Jenny smiling over iced coffee and Sumit showing off his chef side, something was already cracking beneath the surface. According to those who were there, TikToks and Facebook updates never showed the full picture. Because from the moment the cash drawer opened, something felt off. Insiders claim Jenny was put in charge of handling the front end, greeting customers, working the register, managing day-to-day hospitality. Sounds simple enough until it reportedly became clear she couldn't tell a 20 rupee note from a 200. Former staff members said it started with wrong change. Then, miscalculated bills. Then one day, she allegedly gave a guy a full lunch and forgot to charge anything at all. When asked, she waved it off. I don't understand the currency anyway. That's what sources nearby overheard. The thing is, it wasn't just a minor slip. This was India. This was money. This was family honor. And in a small neighborhood cafe, word spreads faster than fire. Locals began to notice, say insiders. If Jenny was behind the counter, prices got loose, change got fuzzy, and if you smiled enough, lunch might just be free. First, it was once a day. Then, shockingly, it became routine. For some locals, it felt like hitting the jackpot. A few even came in just to check who was on duty. Sumit allegedly didn't want to believe it. He was juggling suppliers, cleaning, food prep, payroll. He wanted Jenny to handle the rest. Trust, right? That's marriage. But apparently, it wasn't long before panic set in. Recipients outnumbered receipts. Food was going out, but barely any money was coming in. Staff began noticing wages couldn't be fully covered the same week sales were dipping. And worse, they say Jenny never tracked totals. No system, no paperwork, just guesses and stress. Some say she didn't get the rupees, others claim she didn't want to. Maybe it was pride, maybe fear, maybe it was too overwhelming. But whatever the reason, it pushed the business toward the edge. And Sumit's family? They noticed. Forget business logic, this was about dignity. They had helped fund this place. Now, they were watching it publicly fall into chaos. But things didn't just go wrong, they allegedly never worked at all. At first, it looked like typical new business chaos. A few undercharged meals, some miscounted change, a couple of dishes given away here and there. But by the end of the first week, staff noticed it wasn't occasional. It was daily. Meals were being handed out for less than cost, sometimes for nothing. and no one was logging it. No billing slips, no markups, no tracking. Customers would walk in, chat with Jenny for a few minutes, get their food, and leave without paying, or paying less than what was on the menu. It didn't take long for some people to figure out if you acted confused or smiled enough, lunch was basically free. The calf wasn't bleeding, it was gushing. Behind the counter, staff began comparing notes. They weren't being petty. They were watching hours of work turn into nothing. People came in, had 3-course meals, and left without triggering a single entry on the POS system. Some couldn't believe it. One former employee said there were shifts where more food left the kitchen than cash entered the drawer. And by week 3, inventory orders had doubled, income had halved, and nobody could explain the math. Worse, Jenny allegedly didn't seem concerned. If a customer had an issue, wrong total, missing item, unclear pricing, she would back off. According to insiders, she admitted she didn't want to argue about money, didn't understand the rupees, and felt too awkward to push back. So she'd either round the total down or just give it away. It became an unspoken rule. Avoid confrontation, avoid the math. Repeat. And suddenly, small errors weren't small anymore. Sumit, working double shifts on the kitchen side, didn't notice at first. He thought business was still building. But the mood in the calf was changing. Staff stopped smiling. Regular customers began bragging about how cheap everything was, or how easy it was to get free chai. Morale was slipping. If you were trying to run a business and every day your earnings didn't add up, how long would you stay motivated? Then came the bomb. Sumit's father, who had reluctantly supported the calf project, asked to see the books. Insiders say he walked in one morning, calm and smiling. But when he left, his face was white and tight. Because the books barely existed. Totals were rounded, sales weren't recorded. Receipts were missing or handwritten with no structure. In some cases, entire days went by with no clear income record. And now the calf was behind on payments, rent, suppliers, wages. Panic kicked in. This wasn't just about finances now. This was about face, respect, reputation, family pride. Sumit's father reportedly lost it. Family sources say there was shouting, massive shouting. Staff apparently heard parts of it. Accusations flew, not of theft, but of incompetence, irresponsibility, disrespect. Jenny, hearing this, broke down too. And in her eyes, this wasn't mismanagement, it was humiliation on full display. She defended herself, said she was overwhelmed, unsupported, that the pressure came too fast. She wasn't trained. Nobody taught her how to do this. And Sumit? Stuck in the middle. His father demanding accountability. His wife demanding empathy. That's not an ops meeting, that's a breakdown. And still, the calf kept losing money. Not slowly. Reportedly, in the tens of thousands of rupees per day. Suppliers stopped delivering unless they were paid upfront in cash. Staff began asking if they'd be paid on time because the calf's daily take couldn't even cover expenses. All of this while online viewers still assumed it was a cozy little love project coming to life. Behind the smiles, things were unraveling. Sumit started spending more time managing the damage. 2 phones on him, late-night calls, calculator always out. Jenny, meanwhile, was growing silent, hurt, feeling pushed aside. Staff noticed the shift. She wasn't working like before. She showed up, but barely participated. Her confidence, reportedly gone. That's when the roles reversed emotionally. Jenny felt exiled in her own marriage. Sumit felt trapped, trying to keep everything standing. And from what insiders say, neither of them was talking about emotions anymore. It had turned cold, functional, transactional. What started as a love move had now become a source of deep resentment. Jenny, once the face of the calf, now sat back while a relative of Sumit took over front-end operations. New prices were enforced, no freebies, daily reports, double checks. But with the new rules came backlash. Customers, so used to flexibility, started dropping off. Some reportedly argued when prices returned to normal. One even accused the calf of changing too fast. And Jenny? She took this personally. Very personally. Because when she was handling it, people smiled. Now those same people were complaining. According to those close to her, this felt like proof she was being blamed for everything. All the goodwill vanished as soon as she stepped away. And no one was thanking her for it. She started coming in later, talking less, avoiding the register entirely. And emotionally, nothing was repairing. Inside the marriage, arguments were nearly daily, usually at night after closing. Insiders say the walls were thin. Neighbors heard yelling, staff heard silence. Jenny kept saying she was trying. Sumit kept saying trying wasn't enough. And stuck between them? A dead business. A bleeding bank account. A family on the edge. And all of this was building toward one brutal decision made behind a closed door. No one told Jenny she was being removed. It just happened. One day, she was behind the register, smiling through the pressure, still trying to hold on to her role. The next morning, her name silently disappeared from the schedule. A cousin of Sumit's showed up instead, already trained, already briefed. No explanation. No warning. Jenny walked in and realized the shift had already started without her. She wasn't fired. She wasn't benched. She was phased out like wallpaper. Staff noticed. How could they not? The woman who once greeted every customer was now standing off to the side, barely touching anything. And you could feel the change, the quietness, the tension in her body. She looked like she was trying not to cry, but didn't have the energy to fake a smile anymore. This wasn't a business call. This was a message. You're not trusted here anymore. From a distance, this looked like course correction. But emotionally, it hit like betrayal. Jenny wasn't just removed from her position, she was erased from the things she thought they were building together. One insider claimed that when Jenny asked Sumit about the change, he didn't answer straight. He just said, it needed to be done, and walked off. If your partner couldn't trust you in front of family, could the relationship recover? For Jenny, this wasn't about money. It was about dignity, respect. She had uprooted her entire life for this man, left behind her country, her grandkids, her routine. Now she was being told, without words, that even in their shared dream, there was no real seat at the table for her. And the part that stung most? Nobody defended her. Not the staff, not any in-laws, not even Sumit, at least not in public. She wasn't consulted. She wasn't consoled. She wasn't brought into a meeting or given a new role. She was quietly placed on the sideline like a problem no one wanted to directly address. From that point on, Jenny stopped showing up on time. Some days, she didn't show up at all. Not because she was lazy, but because she couldn't face the building. It didn't feel like theirs anymore. It felt like his. Like the family's. Like her presence had become baggage, tolerated, not wanted. You ever see someone show up to a place they helped build, and now no one makes eye contact with them? That was reportedly how it looked. Staff were polite, but everything about their body language said she wasn't needed. Conversations she used to be part of happened right in front of her, without including her. But you know what hurts more than being yelled at? Being ignored. Even the regulars noticed. Some stopped asking where she was. Others allegedly caught the change immediately, fewer mistakes, standardized pricing, stricter policies. And while that should have felt like success for the CAF, for Jenny, it was personal. She wasn't a manager, she wasn't even a +1. She had become invisible inside her own marriage's business. And Sumit? He kept moving forward. Not cruelly, but efficiently. The numbers had improved. Cash flow stabilized. But emotionally, things were colder than ever between them. Conversations were short. Feelings weren't shared. They were buried. They went home together, but insiders say they started living in silence. No big fights, just quiet tension, broken meals, longer pauses between every little word. This is how relationships collapse. Not with shouting, but with silence. And Jenny? She stopped posting. No CAF updates. No smiling selfies, No gratitude captions. She withdrew. Friends said she spent more time alone, speaking less, doubting everything. The business, the relationship, the entire future she thought she was building. But the calf wasn't the final cost. It was the beginning of something even more devastating. After the calf slipped out of Jenny's hands, so did everything else. The money was one thing. It hit hard, it shook them up, it brought shame. But what came after the financial fallout was worse. It hit deeper. Because the damage wasn't only in the numbers, it reached into how they saw each other, how they talked to each other, how they even looked at each other. Reports started to surface that Sumit wasn't checking in emotionally anymore. He was present, yes. He was paying invoices, answering suppliers, managing the rent. But emotionally? He had clocked out. No more big talks, no more brainstorming together. Conversation shifted to the basics, meals, chores, bills, everything else, avoided. Meanwhile, Jenny was reportedly spiraling at home. Confused, angry, embarrassed, but mostly heartbroken. Locals familiar with the couple said her energy changed almost overnight. She started spending more time indoors. People noticed she stopped visiting the cafe altogether. There were insiders who claimed they could still hear arguments coming from the apartment upstairs, tension breaking through thin walls. Voices raised. One loud, one crying. And online? Silence. No new Instagram posts. Nothing about the menu. No special events. All the bright, positive content vanished. Fans started asking in comment threads, what happened to the calf? Why hasn't Jenny posted in weeks? Are they okay? But there were no answers. The dream calf went from a public milestone to a private sore spot. The thing that was supposed to prove their unity had brutally exposed their divide. Jenny didn't just lose a job. She lost stability, identity, space. On paper, it looked like she had been relieved of duties. But emotionally, it went much deeper. This calf wasn't just a business, this was supposed to be part of her new life, her new version of self, a fresh start in a new country, with the love of her life. And now, in the place she had moved across the world for, even her purpose inside her own house was starting to feel unstable. But here's where we pause for fairness. Was Jenny ever set up to succeed? Could someone really be expected to run a business in a foreign land, with pressure from family, scrutiny from locals, no formal training, and ongoing culture shock, all while trying to prove themselves every single day just to be accepted? It's one thing to fumble. It's another never being allowed to learn before you're sidelined. Whatever side you stand on, one thing now feels heartbreakingly clear. This was never just about a calf. This was about two people trying to build a life in entirely different worlds, different backgrounds, different expectations, and maybe, when the stress hit hardest, different levels of readiness. The money loss was loud, yes. The unpaid bills, the whispers from staff, the silence on social media, it's all there in black and white. But what really fell apart was trust. Rhythm. That unspoken connection that holds two people together when everything else is falling through the cracks. What the public saw was a calf closing. What insiders saw was a marriage slipping into quiet survival mode. Not thriving, not building, just coexisting under the same roof while the emotional floor gave out underneath. Sometimes, love is enough. But only if both people speak the same emotional language. Only if both people are given space to grow, stumble, and still be seen as equal. And maybe here, that space got smaller and smaller until there was barely any left at all. But this story isn't finished, not even close. Because the whispers now say Jenny's not just heartbroken. She's planning something. And next time, well, let's just say Jenny's rumored decision to leave India could change everything all over again.